Welcome to Friday Night Frights. I am your host, the host with the most. Tonight we'll be reading from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It is a collection of folklore and retold by Alvin Schwartz. Drawings by Stephen Gamero. Let's begin. The first story. What did you come for? There was an old woman who lived by herself, and she was very lonely, as most old widow women are. Sitting in the kitchen one night, she said, "Oh, I wish I had some company." No sooner had she spoken than down the chimney tumbled 2 feet, from which the flesh had rotted. The old woman's eyes bulged with terror. Then 2 legs dropped to the hearth and attached themselves to the feet. Sounds like my kind of guest. Then the body tumbled down, and then 2 arms and a man's head. As the old woman watched the parts come together, and a great dangling man. Sounds like my neighbor. The man danced around the room. Faster and faster he went. Then he stopped and looked into her eyes. "What did you come for?" she asked in a small voice that shivered and shook. I'm used to hearing that. "What did I come for?" he said. "I came for you." Let's find another story. This is a favorite song of mine. There is a woman all skin and bone who lived near the graveyard all alone. Ooh, ooh. She thought she'd go to church one day to hear the parson preach and pray. Oh, and then she came to church house style, and she thought she'd stop and rest a while. Ooh. When she came up to the door, she thought she'd stop and rest some more. Ooh. Then she turned to look around and saw a corpse upon the ground. Oops, I forgot to put that one away. Ooh. Now its nose down to its chin. The worms crawled out, the worms crawled in. Ooh. The woman to the preacher said, "Shall I look that when I'm dead?" Ooh. The preacher to the woman said, "You look like that when you are dead." I know about the dead bodies. Okay, story time. Called He Heard Her Footsteps Coming Up the Cellar Stairs. There are ghosts in this chapter. One comes back as a real person, the other takes revenge on her murderer. Sounds like a good plot. And there are other strange happenings. Ted Martin and Sam Miller were good friends. They spent a lot of time together. On this particular night, they were sitting on a fence near the post office talking about one thing and another. Bear with me, I'm not used to having hair. There was a field of turnips across the road. Suddenly they saw something crawl out of the field and stand up looking like a man. And in the dark it was heard to tell for sure. Then it was gone. But soon it appeared again. It walked halfway across the road and it turned and went back into the field. I'm firing my wig maker. And it came the third time and started towards them. By now, Ted and Sam were scared, as they should be. And they started running, but they finally stopped. They decided they were being foolish. Really, Ted and Sam? Are you being foolish? They weren't sure why they had been scared. So they decided to go back and get a better look. Pretty soon they saw it. For it was coming to meet them. It was wearing black pants, white shirt, and black suspenders. A snappy dresser, if you ask me. Sam said, "I'm going to try to touch it. Then we'll know if it is real." He walked up to it, peered into its face. It had bright, penetrating eyes sunk deep in its head. It looked like a skeleton, kind of like old Fred. Ted took one look and screamed, and again he and Sam ran, but the skeleton followed them. Clackle, 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 his gnarly bones went. When they got to Ted's house, they stood in the doorway and watched it. It stayed out in the road for a while. Then it disappeared. A year later, Ted got sick and died. Toward the end, Sam sat up with him every night. The night Ted died, Sam said he looked just like the skeleton. To check my teeth to make sure they're sharp. As Cold as Clay is one of my favorite. The farmer had a daughter. Likes the farmer's daughters, they do. They are sweet. Whom he cared for more than anything on earth. She fell in love with a farmhand named Jim. I know Jim the farmhand. He tasted good. But the farmer did not think Jim was good enough for his daughter, as it is with all fathers. To keep them apart, he sent her to live with her uncle on the other side of the county. What an idiot. Soon after she left, Jim got sick. People are getting sick. And wasted away and died. I think it's from a broken heart. Everyone said he died of a broken heart. That's what I said. The farmer felt so guilty about Jim's death. He did. He felt pretty bad. He could not tell his daughter what had happened. Instead, he said he went out grocery shopping for a very long time. She continued to think about Jim and the life they might have had together. One night, many weeks later, there was a knock on her uncle's door. When the girl opened the door, Jim was standing there with an arm full of groceries. Her father asked me to get you. He said, I came on his best horse. Is there anything wrong? She asked. I don't know, he said. She packed a few things and they left. She rode behind him, clinging to his waist. Soon after, he complained of a headache. It aches something terrible, he told her. She put her hand on his forehead. Why, you are as cold as clay, she said. I hope you are not ill. As she wrapped her handkerchief around his head. Handkerchief always helps headaches. They traveled so swiftly that in a few hours they reached the farm. The girl quickly dismounted and knocked on the door. Her father was startled to see her. Didn't you send for me? She asked. No, I didn't, he said. She turned to Jim, but he was gone, and so was the horse. Well, that's for you on the horse you rode in on. They went to the stable to look for them. The horse was there. It was covered in sweat and trembling with fear. There was no sign of Jim. I know. Jim. Oh, he tasted good. Terrified, her father left her and turned about and told her the truth about Jim's death. He didn't go to the grocery store, he said. He just up and died. Then quickly, he went to see Jim's parents. And they decided to open the grave. The corpse was in the coffin. But around his head was the girl's handkerchief. He came back, just like I do. Well, I hope you enjoyed this few excerpts from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Read this book when I was very young, 212 actually. So, if you like to be scared, please tune in next Friday for more Friday Night Frights. Until then, stay safe, stay sweet, and watch behind you.